Very happy to see the president of the city council, Helen Hudson, here today with us. Absolutely. Also joined by Councilor Paniagua, Majority Leader Caldwell, Councilor Monto, Councilor Nave, President Pro Tem Hogan, Councilor Williams, Councilor Jones-Rouser, team of our water department, our commissioners here. Also, happy birthday to our deputy clerk, Brian. This is birthday today. All right.
Oh, no, no.
All right, now that I got all the happy stuff out of the way, we're here to talk about a crucial thing here in the city in regards to our water issue and our consumption that we have here in the city of Syracuse. I would like to start off by reading something, just some questions of concerns that we've got from constituents and other members here in the city of Syracuse. So on January 19th and the 20th of 2025, the city of Syracuse water consumption spiked up by 45 million gallons a day and remained at this abnormal level still to this day. It is estimated that we could possibly have lost 150 to 200 million gallons of treated water since the start of this. Putting in perspective, the average normal daily consumption is 36 million gallons a day during the winter, so approximately 4 to 6 days of the city's water consumption. That's the approximate amount. The city usually goes roughly through 220 million gallons in the reserves to make sure any issues that arise can be addressed without the loss of waters to its customers, not to mention fire protection. We're currently down to estimated 40 million gallons, or approximately 1 day of total water consumption for the city of Syracuse. Our filtration waiver by the New York State Department of Health, we have the waiver to operate our water system without any filtration facility as long as we stay under a certain number of violations in a given time period. We are on the last violation. The state of New York has warned us repeatedly that if we have one more in the next year or so, we are done. They will force us to build a $200 million filtration facility. Why is this important to the 40 million we have in reserves? The turbidity spikes at the lakes causes dirt and debris, so our water is rendered undrinkable per New York State Health Code. In order to avoid this violation, the water department shuts down a conduit intake at the lake. They have to, and doing this so decreases our supply of water to the city of Syracuse by approximately 8 million gallons per day. If we are forced to shut down for 5 days on and off over the next 30 days or so, and we do not identify the consumption, loss, leak, blow-off valve openings, or anything like that, the city would not be able to provide water to its businesses, hospitals, homes, etc. Or for the very least, many people may be going to the faucet to find no water that there is. Our firefighters may open a fire hydrant and find no water to help prevent and to help fight the fires here in the city of Syracuse from the hydrants. I'm pretty sure that the leadership within the water department and also City Hall will be able to help rectify this situation, hoping that an emergency declaration may be not deemed if we can tackle this situation as soon as we can. And I would just like to see if the commissioners would actually have any questions or comments, or how do we tackle this issue so that way we can get on top of these things.
So as we know, we've had unprecedented amount of breaks this year. Last year at this time, I believe we had 66 water main breaks. This year we had 119 water main breaks. We haven't seen this kind of winter in, I want to say, around 5 years. We've also, I'm just going to give you an idea where our water is going. Our hydrant permits, we've given out 13 hydrant permits this season through the winter with the 81 projects and demolitions throughout the city, for economic development. We've had 13 structure fires. We've shut intake 2 down 5 times, which is 5 million. We're averaging about a $5 million a day, 5 million gallon a day coming into the city cutoff. But as far as water pressure, fire service, we've been in contact with the fire department throughout all this. They have protocol where they have pump trucks standing by in low pressured areas. The day of March 16th, I believe it was, the Sunday, it was a perfect storm. We had a water main break on 7 North Street, which we had to shut water down, taking in from Aqua, which is 3 million gallons a day. We had to shut intake 2 down due to turbidity event. The power went out to our pump stations. So everything kind of happened all at once. We worked as a team, collaborated, got water back as fast as possible. By morning time, everyone had water, pressured, start climbing. Dr. Weeks is usually the area we have the most trouble getting the pressure to. They're up and running by the mid-morning. They didn't have to cancel school. Right now, our elevations are climbing. We're at 6, 11, 8, I believe, at Woodland Reservoir, which the last time we were at that level was around February 2nd. So we're climbing back up. We have dropped down as low as 6.5. We're up to 6.11 elevation. Stewart Standpipe is elevations are getting higher. We're down today at 688. I believe this morning we were at, as of right now, we're at 709. So we have reserve. Morningside is at 705. Where is Stewart? Woodland. Woodland's at 722, which is an acceptable area. Westcott is at 621. We went to low flow. I don't understand why we weren't on low flow. We were on high flow for quite a while, and we're back on low flow, which is putting more water into them areas that are concerned to higher elevations. We're doing the best as a team. Like I said, the perfect storm happened that day. We got through it. University reached out. Their elevations climbed up on Mount Olympus. We don't believe it's one single leak anymore that we're looking for, because we believe it would have showed itself. We believe it's just from January, we're estimating between January 19th, January 20th is when everything, all the breaks started taking place. And, I have some numbers here.
Well, before you go into the numbers, let me ask you a question. Morningside, are all the tanks up and running?
All the tanks aren't up and running right now, only to the fact is Comstock pump is not. One of the pumps at Comstock pump is down, and we have to get that pump fixed to deliver water to fill the 3 tanks.
Okay,
Because we're running on one pump right now, so that feeds Morningside and feeds Stewart. So we filled 1 tank at Morningside, 1 tank at Stewart. We got a company coming in. We just put it out for bid. Who's the company that comes in and does it? Gardner. Gardner Pumps is coming in and repairing the second pump at Comstock so we can get them tanks filled immediately.
So when do we propose, because there's 3 tanks at Morningside, correct?
Correct.
So when do we propose to see all of those tanks up and moving?
I'm hoping within the next 30 days. We repaired all the leaks up there. We tested them. They're all operationable. We just have to get the pump to fill them.
And I'm going to hold you to it, because
I know.
You're new in this role,
Yep.
and I've been hearing for the next 30 days for
I will get them
over a
tanks
year.
filled. That's as important to you as it is me.
Okay.
Commissioner, I'm just wondering, so your contention is the 5 million gallons of water that are missing every day, that's all accounted for, or you're still speculating on where it comes from? That's the key thing. And as the president mentioned, what about, why haven't we called like our contractor in on this, EDR, just to look at it?
I've spoke with some contractors.
They still have money
engineering.
left on their contract.
They do.
I think maybe New Eyes might help out on
I
this
spoke
thing.
to a few of them. They were under the same lines we are. You got to find the leaks. The brakes don't help.
See, I talked to them this morning, and they said they're willing to come in.
Okay. We've hired a leak detection company that we brought in early. I think they found 4 leaks this morning. Small leaks, nothing that would be substantial, but you have enough small leaks, turns into a big leak.
Historically, you fellas got more experience than I, well, not more experience than I do, maybe more experience in the water department, but, usually it's a large leak somewhere when you have a situation like this, right?
It usually is. So we've had so many breaks, and on a lot of them were bigger diameter pipe. Once you fall so far behind, now it's catch up without having any more breaks, and we're continuing to have 1 to 3 breaks a day. So trying to play catch up from all the water loss. I mean, Park Street alone was a 16-inch main break,
Right.
and that loses 1.5 million gallons, one break. We've had that, the Skyline. We don't know how many gallons of water we lost in the day.
Well, until we account for that 5 million gallons, I think this is a situation where it's all hands on deck. Maybe we
Right.
should bring the contractor in.
Okay,
I
I'll
mean,
reach out to him.
Yeah, just to get new eyes on what's happening out there. He also said that he probably would contact Collier's, where a former water commissioner works too. I mean, this is this has got folks really upset, and it's critical that we address it.
Well, even along with mentioning Skyline, with how much water we could have potentially lost with that, we also had other businesses. I think there was one off of Geddes that was like a auto repair shop or something like that got flooded out. I mean, how many of these are we running into? I mean, are we looking around to see how can we address that issue as well? I mean, we're losing. This is a lot of water that we're losing here.
So, and just so we know too, we have invested in like an alert system. We put eye hydrants throughout the city that tell us when pressure drops, and they usually give us a sign when there's a leak or something happens. And besides the leaks, the breaks we find, when they go off, we go there and we find in the area and we locate them and find them and repair them. Our eye hydrants aren't going off. So there's nothing setting off a pressure loss, except for on the day that, on that perfect day, perfect storm day. There's nothing giving us an alarm that there's a major break.
So I have a question. With that, I mean, I know the water department, this guy's been there for years, phenomenal resource, and they know. Are we asking our veteran guys that has been here a long time, like, what's different? What are we seeing? Because a lot of them have knowledge, of what's going on and what they've seen in the past, right? Are we
I can tell
utilizing?
you, my whole team has been all hands on. Everybody's been participating, trying to resolve this, from water quality to the work, the crews on the field, to the people in the offices, water finance. We're running meter data, seeing if there's any spikes in the meters anywhere.
What about vacant buildings? Are we working with the fire department as well as to see if any of the vacant buildings? Because you said Skyline was one.
We have a list of all vacants. We've had a crew go out and they're listening on all their fire services and services to make sure there's nothing going on in them, in them buildings. We've been doing residential homes. We got a list from the land bank. We've been going out sounding them. I'm working with the help of the mayor, New Air. We got a meeting with them Thursday to go out and drone our conduit line to see if they could find anything major on our conduit bringing water into the city. That goes in places we can't get to.
So my other question, when did we realize this was an issue? So that's another big concern. Now we're being reactive instead of proactive. When did we realize this was a water issue?
And probably like the second week of February, we started seeing we couldn't catch back up. We knew I think, do you have numbers when we had them breaks kicked off?
January 20th.
Yeah, 57 breaks by January 31st, but a lot of them happened with a 2-week span. So we knew we were losing water because of the number of breaks we had, and we knew we weren't catching up with the water intake is what we were losing. And we thought we resolved that when we fixed the breaks, the numbers started going up, but then more breaks kept coming in. We just kept chasing our tail, repairing breaks.
So because of just the breaks, was that the focus point, or did we not look at anything else? I'm sorry, Councilor Rouser. But was that just the focus point, or did we go because I remember a couple years ago or last year we had a blow-off valve, on North Salina Street. So, and we got, I think, roughly 70 of those throughout the city. So are we checking all the blow-off valves as well to make sure that that's being taken care of? And are we
checking all the blow-off valves? We've had teams going out, checking all the boundary gates, making sure nothing was opened up and we're feeding another system.
any leaks into the creek at all? Or?
We've done all that. We've had, with the help of Syracuse Fire, they've took their drone down the creek for us, looking for any infiltration. They haven't seen anything. We've had the help of Aqua. They've had their leak detection out up on our south branch, checking for leaks up in the Brighton area. Problem is we're having right now as well is, as you know, is we have so much infrastructure going on in the city right now with 81, spread across the whole city. And when you take a 100-year-old system and you turn valves on, turn them off, you're causing a hammer, which creates breaks throughout the whole city. Because we're a gravity-fed pressurized system. Right. And when you turn things off or people turn things off that don't know what they're doing and turn them back, they're turning hydrants on, turning, the mains on and off. We just have so much moving parts right now. And we're trying to keep up on that, and it's only growing.
So I just want to reiterate what Pro Temp Hogan has stated once or twice before. Are we working with the DOT to also address the work around 81 where any of that is being impacting our water system? Is the DOT involved?
We've reached out to them. They're not supposed to be touching any of our valves. Syracuse Water is supposed to turn all the valves on and off.
Right, so I'm sorry, Commissioner, but in our job meetings with the 81 projects in the contractors, we have stated it from the beginning that they're not to touch any of our valves in our water system. That they need first and foremost to call and schedule with our brake wagon. We call it a brake wagon. Guys that go and turn our valves for us, have the maps and look at the maps to do the shutdowns. We don't want anybody else, and we've tried to make that clear to them. But when you got a big project going on the south, right on the east side, up on the Brighton Ave area, and then you have another one going on over on the north side with another contractor, and then we have one right down here, you know what I mean, over here on Canal Street and Water Street. I think they make the effort, but I'm not sure that they're calling us every time. So
I mean, just so I'm clear, there's like 70 of those, or those valves and stuff like that you shut off in case you have to repair a line. You're not sure if they're opening them?
I believe that at certain times that they're opening or closing them.
They might not be closing them all the way, maybe.
Right, or they're not
How often do we
opening
check?
them
How often do we check those?
all the way. So we try to be vigilant and get out there and check, but with everything that's going on, I think we just got a list of vacant buildings here that are it's 2 pages long. And that's that's private dwellings also that are vacant, and you would not know it until the basement fills up in the water, like the skyline. You know what I mean? Fire department showed up. They look up at the building and there's icicles up to the 7th floor. So clearly nobody had been into that building you know what I mean, to just look inside there for a long time. So you don't know how long that water was running. We just ran into
What was the cause of that anyways? Was it a broken valve or something?
no heat.
No heat?
So the
They didn't pull it
pipe
off.
froze.
Okay.
And then the warm weather comes and the water expands and the pipe bursts.
So that was my next question. I'm glad you led into that. Is it possible that these 119 rare breaks are caused by 8,000-foot level, but climate change issues where we have experienced much warmer temperatures and then the back and forth between cold and warm than any other time before?
Yes.
And how are we looking to address that in the future?
And this was, again, Commissioner Brand, I'll touch on what he said, is an extreme winter. And here's just an example. We started realizing that the water was an issue on the 16th of January. We went back to the 16th of January. The week before that, between January 8th and January 13th, we had 11 water main breaks. So when you ask us to be proactive, we can only be as proactive as fixing the water main breaks that have, you know what I mean, obviously that are emergency that have occurred. So that on top of, again, like you, and I gave President Hudson some pictures of Park Street, the Lake Creek, the 16-inch valve. If you want to take a look at that and look at the crack I've been with the department for 16 years. I've never, in my 16 years, have heard of a 16-inch water main freezing. That has been, and now that it goes over Lake Creek and it's exposed to the weather. But in 16 years of winters here and working in this department, never once have I ever seen something like that of that nature and of that size. 25%, I want to say 25% of our water main breaks this year alone, since January 1st, have been on 12-inch mains or bigger. Usually it's a 6-inch main or it's an 8-inch main, but unheard of in my 16 years experience that a 16-inch water main would freeze completely solid.
So
I mean, you
moving
open up that
forward-
water, you open up that pipe and it's just a 16-inch circle of ice.
So is there, and this is new to me, I don't
Mm-hmm.
know nothing about it, so I'm just thinking about like house stuff. Do we wrap them at all? Is that something that we can do in the future? Like, is there some type of protective wrap that we
There
can
is.
do?
We're gonna wrap that main this spring. We didn't wrap it at the time, but we put there's like a bleeder on it. So when the extreme temperatures came, we would bleed it a little bit.
Yeah.
Just to keep movement through the
yes,
water
same
moving
as a
through
house,
the
yes.
pipe.
Are the pipes old? Are those old or they're like pretty new?
They're old.
No, it's everything is old.
So
I
it's-
believe we just celebrated in January 100, I know we say 100 years, but I think it's more like 130 years.
We,
Okay, and I'm sorry, go ahead, Commissioner.
So we have been proactive. That's why we're investing in these eye hydrants and these sensors. So the quicker we can find the leak, the quicker we can repair it. That's less water loss.
Commissioner, when you're ready, I have a couple of questions. First of all, when that pipe froze at Lake Creek, I was there, and I found it very unfortunate that Aqua was not able to assist us, because as you told me, they wanted how much dollars to put water in, and you had to get a private contractor that day. And I thought that was appalling that Aqua, because it was only within feet of the village of Liverpool, from the top at the end of Park Street, outside of my district, would not be cooperative that day. And you know, you guys were doing a tremendous job. That's a problem we've had. Number two, Skyline. Yeah, there was a water main leak, and because of that, residents on East Division Street had no proper water until that leak at Skyline was repaired. Number three, last night I met with constituents on Gilbert Ave, High Street, and East Division Street. I checked with them. Some have their water pressure's fine. I have one on High Street. She says, I barely got any water pressure, and was asking, pleading with me, hey, we need a water pump. I got the name of the resident of East Division Street, called the office today, and we sent the information, though. So this is a problem that we started talking about it late last year. Everyone was talking about lead in the water. We need breather filters, and constituents were coming to me, and they were pleading with us. And I think we should emphasize that many constituents are in the need of water pumps. I mean, they were pleading with me. And you've done a great job, though. And I'm going to acknowledge all the work that you do in spite of all these temperatures. And you get a lot of hits, too. But you're working very hard. I've seen you. Not many people would have done what you did in January in freezing temperatures, but you were out there trying to figure out those frozen pipes. And it was dangerous because people don't know you were within a couple feet of a gas line, and that was dangerous.
Right, and if you look at the set of pictures I have there for Park Street at Lake Creek, you can actually see Aqua's water main that goes, and in between both water mains is a 4-inch National Grid gas line. So it's a challenging thing. And what's unfortunate about that area is off of that 16-inch line, we service 2 people after that, as it goes over the creek to the bridge, where Aqua does tie right in that area also. Speaking of that water main break, we were fortunate enough to be able to work and isolate it, Chris and myself, and isolate it to where Destiny USA didn't have to close their doors for the day.
No, neither
okay?
the transportation
Neither did
center.
Regional Market or the diner or all of those businesses from the bridge, Regional Transportation Center. We were able to isolate it to where all of those businesses were able to stay in water and not, and once we had that shut down, we actually had police chiefs, the regional or the chief that was on call that day stopped down there to see us, security for Destiny USA. And, you know, we work hard to keep not only our residents in water, but our, you know what I mean, the people that bring this city revenue.
So
What can we do to help you guys? So with that being said,
Well, one quick before we jump, I want to talk about
First,
money.
can I say something real quick? I just want to make sure we clarify this. The Aqua is a great working partner with us. You know what I mean? They've been very supportive through all this with us. I've been in constant contact with Jeffrey Miller. I just wanted, the Park Street thing, they have a lot going on as well too. And we would have liked to switch it all over to them, but at the end of the day, we kept the customers as our customers. It all worked out in the end. We were frustrated at the time, but I just wanted to say we're in good working relationships with the county. They've been right by our side the whole way through this.
Yes, and it's proven because of the water main break we had on our big main on Spencer Street on the 24-inch main. We didn't happen to have the parts in stock, but Aqua did, and Jeffrey Miller and his people worked with us and invited us, come and get it as soon as you can.
Right.
We're happy to give you we're happy to give you the parts. So we do work hand in hand with Aqua quite a bit.
I just thought that money, how much they wanted that day.
No, I understand.
You know what I'm saying?
and-
That's what I'm upset. They wanted all that money, and you got a private contractor instead that day, and it was much less. I think they could have given us a break.
how much water do we get from Aqua? 3.5 million. All right. And then when you talk about
Which
regulations,
is our water. South Branch is our water.
South Branch is ours. When you talk about regulations, when you regulate, does that affect another side of the city? Or like, does it put overstress on all the other pump stations that we have? Like, that's how, like, what's the process there? Like when we're talking about, because we constantly get phone calls as well about people's water pressure.
So
and things
Gilbert
like that,
Ave has been a problem for years, I believe. We've done everything in our power to try to get them water that they deserve. We've been in talks about changing their pressure district to put them in a higher zone.
Higher
But
elevation.
we want to make sure we have all our resources together before we make that switch.
So how long, if we continue to climb, you said reserves are going back up, how long before we're back to where we should be? If things, I know things could happen, but can we withstand another like perfect storm day like we just had? Or are we in a
Yes.
bad spot? If
No, we would get through another perfect storm day.
Okay. How long before we're back up to the levels we need to be at in the reservoirs?
Add on to that.
60 days. There's
60 days?
But is the climb only due to us switching to low flow?
no.
Okay.
But we still don't know where the leak is.
We just believe if there was that big of a leak, our team, after talking to a bunch of people, and it would have showed itself by now.
You
We
know,
believe it's the 119 leaks.
if we reached out, Greg, maybe this is a question, what state agents, we've reached out the Environmental Facilities Corporation at all to help out here?
We have not reached out to the State
I mean, they
Environmental
got
Facilities
money, too.
Corporation. It may be an option for us at this point. Certainly, as the commissioner said, Greg Lowe, Chief Policy Officer, all hands
You
would
didn't
be
say
on
that,
deck.
you did.
I know. No, sorry. I realized I hadn't said that. Thank you. All hands on deck. And Environmental Facilities Corporation could be
Well,
an
it's not
option
all
for some
hands on deck
assistance.
now because we haven't reached them. I mean, I think
I said that as a good suggestion, sir.
yeah. What about like a strategy going forward? I mean, we haven't found the leak, but what about like, I know we spend a ton of money on API and all, the performance people, the Office of Performance there. I mean, maybe we should segue them into some way to monitor our system. I mean, we got an old system.
So I just want to also say the numbers that we were given a minute ago on the system numbers that were read to us are not correct. Today alone, we're plus 2.89 million gallons. So we didn't lose water. We're not losing any water right now. The This time last year, the outflow was around 42, and we're right around the same thing right now for the same usage last year. We checked the 2024 numbers compared to these numbers. It fluctuates between 39 and 42. We haven't been over that 42 mark, have we?
So
Commissioner,
you're saying that we're not losing any water right now?
Right now, we're gaining.
Commissioner, we are in need of a water engineer. You think that would be good? Let's-
We put out for a divisional engineer for the water
Okay.
department. We've put it out to bid. We're having trouble finding anyone,
Okay.
but we've put it out there. We've interviewed a couple people, and we're looking.
Commissioner, also in that same, when you said we were listening, so do we listen in the evening? Do we have an evening crew that would do that work, or do we don't?
We have
Because it would be easier when people are not using the system, correct?
to do like locating for the leaks.
Yeah.
We have a crew that works 3 to 11. But most of our leak detection is during the day. We've gone out personally at night, checking, creeks and listening to hydrants. And, we went up to the Brighton Ave Circle because we have valves that the DOT buried up there, listening on them. We unburied them because of traffic. So we've been working all different hours. Sunday alone, we worked from like 7 in the morning to like 11.
So that's not something we need, like a night crew.
A night crew.
What about?
Just with the reservoir tanks, I'm trying to understand this water. But how old are the tanks? Like, are they old?
Well, the Woodland Reservoir is 130 years old, 100 and,
Yeah, it was
Lost
built,
one of the
it
pumps
was
there
built in the
too,
late
right?
1890s.
right.
We lost one of the pumps there. It burned
Woodland
out.
Reservoir was,
High flow pump,
It burned out
Burned
the
out,
other
right.
day, right?
We have them up there repairing them right now. We have 2 pumps. Right,
Actual tank is, you're saying 130 years old?
right, which is an open air reservoir. It holds 121 million gallons of water.
And that burned out. So potentially that could have burned out because of fire that happened on Bellevue. That when they hooked up the line,
and
ran
and
multiple
being in
trucks.
such close proximity and off of one of our 36-inch mains that come out of Woodland Reservoir and travel all the way up to the Syracuse University area and feeds the hospitals and stuff. Like if on the paper here, we look at that and water usage per fire, it's 3,000 gallons every 10 minutes. So I'm not really sure how long it took them to fight that fire, but 2 houses did catch on fire, and that was right at, right off of our 36-inch main transmission line.
And at the time, that was the lowest our reservoir levels were at that time.
Quick
So
question. Go ahead.
with the team going out to check everything, have you guys also looked into the sewage side to see if anything's leaking there, to see if WEP can figure out if
We have
they're
contacted WEP and asked them if they had any kind of
uptick in flow?
influx,
Yeah.
uptick of flow, because that does affect their treatment at the treatment plant and how they do things. And Franklin Floatables over there, that place that they have their screens in to catch all the floatables that are in the water. So we have reached out to them. We have,
City of
Again,
Syracuse Sewer Department has been nothing but working with us, cameraing
help us camera
mains.
areas that are under suspicion. Yes.
So WEP hasn't found an uptick.
We have no heavy infiltration.
And it's been so just so we know, it's been all hands on deck. The night crew for the DPW has been out there, when they're working the neighborhoods, looking for any kind of leaks. Syracuse Fire Department has been helping us. Like I said, sewers has been cameraing mains, looking for, and no one can find anything. We've checked all the blow-offs. We just believe that it's the perfect storm with all the breaks we've had, all the usage we've been using.
Just want to also note, obviously, you also brought in the additional assistance of Aqua to do additional sounding and
Yep,
support
I
too.
told them that.
Don't
Yep.
sit down, Greg. I have a question for you. Because I was hearing early on in this meeting, they talked about the amount of water that DOT is using. Okay? So do we charge them for the water? Do we charge back for that water that they're taking away? We do.
That's actually not a question I could answer.
That is something we're looking into. We charge them right now $1,900 for the permit, unlimited use. And we're looking to maybe start, change that and meter it. Maybe they won't
Yeah, but how
use it
much
as much.
water they're using, yeah.
Right.
They just leave it running. I have a question about the, I don't know what you called it, but the sensors. Eye hydrants, okay. And again, I only talk about house stuff. So, like, if you have a camera at your house, you can, the activity zone, you can raise it up or lower it. Are those the same, or are they set at a certain level? That's the level.
Level the threshold
And they, so are they at the highest level so that we are able to detect? You said none of those are going off. So is it because the level might be too low, or are we looking at that?
So we can adjust the threshold on them.
I believe most of our thresholds right now, ma'am, are at about 35 PSI at every hydrant. And if it drops one PSI, our phones go off that alert us to the eye hydrant that
Our
has,
phones have been going off quite a
that
bit.
has
Believe
dropped.
me,
But
all the city councilors.
I'm sure they have, Mr. Hogan, I'm sure they have. And it's not something that we take lightly, and we work hard every single day to try to figure out what's going on here. Just to touch on some numbers, though, I would like to let you know the Westcott North tank is about 1.5 feet low. Morningside tank, the norm is 705.2. We're right at about that norm right now in that tank. Stewart Standpipe, we're at even 710.17. The norm is low end of that is 710. Woodland Standpipe 722.5. The standard low end standard of that is 720. So a lot of our, we've gained a lot of some water to where we're even or a little bit better in our standpipes. Right now, it's just a matter of
Building.
the wind, right, building it and building back Woodland Reservoir, which has been a difficult thing to do when the wind blows out of the south. Every time the wind blows out of the south and it turns up, or heavy rains, storms, whatever it is out at Skinny Atlas that puts any kind of particles in the water, to err on the side of caution and not get that New York State fine or whatever it is that they're talking about, we have to shut an intake down. We have to shut intake 2 down. It's just, and that's an issue that we deal with on top of all of the water main breaks. Like, we don't go out and just snap your finger. You just don't go out there and snap your finger and turn that water off when there's a water main break.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, there's so many things involved.
But could we afford to keep shutting down
So
intake 2 and everything
intake
else?
2. Let me
Okay,
let where
but
we're at.
and maybe that's for another debate. I mean, me personally, if the water takes 4 days, if it enters the pipe and it takes 4 days to get to Woodland Reservoir, we should be taking turbidity at Woodland Reservoir and not at the lake.
So
Okay,
July
it takes
3rd.
4 days.
Dave, let him.
July 3rd, 2023, we allocated $1.2 million to GHD to do design for the intake 2 to expand it to extend it from 60 to 80 feet. July 22 of last year, we authorized a bond for $16 million for that project. How much of that money has been spent so far, and where are we at with the project?
16 million?
Yes.
None of it has been spent. I am a firm believer that data speaks for itself. I'm not, we're not going to spend $16 million on something that may or may not work. So I put it on hold with the help of state and county health department, have the same opinion as I do. We put it on hold to get more data, because I would hate to spend 16 to $20 million on an intake extension and have it not work. And then we're in the same boat.
Why
We
would it
just
not work? Because we've heard that the alternative is a $200 million capital
It's
outlay.
not the only alternative. We're looking into other directions. As Dave said, turbidity, compliance points, changing our compliance points for the city of Syracuse, because we do have reservoirs. The data doesn't show right now that it's worth spending $16 to $20 million. So not saying that the data won't change, but it hasn't showed it. We're still getting turbidity at them levels.
Well, why would the administration ask us to do that then?
Because the data, the previous data from, I think when they originally started this project back in showed that it could possibly work. Now the technology has increased, so they're putting more buoys out there. They have more technology out there in these depths, and we're still getting turbidity issues in them depths.
Counselor, have we already borrowed that money, or have we already had a bond? So we already have a bond. We're paying our bond for something that we're not going to do?
We're not saying we're
Greg
not
is
going to
saying
do
no.
it.
Yeah, we
we issued-
authorized, we
Right.
didn't issue.
Well, there's a policy disconnect with the administration there. We got the commissioner saying we don't need it, and you came to us to say you did need it. Correct?
Counselor, actually, what was proposed is actually the authorization to have funding for the intake project. What we have conducted rightly, which any project like this would be, is the design process for that project, which also includes continued studies involving design and how the approach will work. And what the commissioner is referring to is working with those experienced outside engineers. We're seeing data that is causing the commissioner to want to be very sure before the next steps of the project continue that it is in fact a project that should be continued. So I would suggest to you that the policy decision has been to be very wise with the city's funds to ensure that we undertake a project that will deliver the results that you as the council would want.
We were just with our bonding lawyer, as a matter of fact. And
Yeah.
They say, don't bond unless you really need the money.
I don't think we didn't
We
bond
haven't
for
done
the
it, but
16
we
million.
weren't informed of that decision.
Beg your pardon?
We weren't informed of that decision.
Of
it
what
seems.
decision?
The decision, you came to us to ask to have permission for bond.
Listen, I don't know. Did you bond for the full 16 million?
I don't believe so.
We just have to check the records on that, Counselor.
Of course, we weren't. We authorized
So,
it.
All you all did, well, what you guys did was authorize the project, and the bond's still sitting, as Greg's saying. It haven't been issued yet. I guess if they issue it, they probably did the study that you need to do to,
so the project is not, we didn't stop the project and say we're not doing the intake extension. I needed more data because at the time when it was presented itself with the designers, they said that the data didn't show that it was going to resolve our problem. So before we went as a city and spent $16 million to whatever it may cost, the data has to prove itself to me. So I just said, let's hold off, let's get more data, bring more data in, because I'm not, like I said, I'm not going to spend taxpayer dollars on something that might work
I
and might
commend you
not
for
work.
that, Commissioner. I'm just saying in our deliberation, especially with the budget season coming up, it's certainly interesting to know as far as that sometimes we get asked for money, to bond for money, and sometimes you've decided not to
Well, that would
spend
probably
it or
be
go
my
that direction.
inexperience and not to notify
Oh, no,
you
I'm not
guys.
blaming you at
You know what I
all.
mean? But
No.
I just felt as a whole, after talking to the parties involved, including the New York State and the Onondaga County Health Department, that it was something we need to have more data on before we went ahead with this, probably one of the biggest projects the city, water department has seen.
That's certainly, I mean, one of the questions we got asked, what's our strategy going ahead with all this? I mean, what is our strategy? We have an older water system. These gentlemen, I'm not blaming them for their effort. They did a tremendous amount of effort. But what are we going to do going forward? We're going to have our API people or OPI people, we're going to have them look at the system. Are we going to talk to the New York Environmental Service Corporation? What are we going to do? Has that decision been made? I'm asking you, Greg. You're the only one here, the chief policy. I mean,
Well,
where are we going to go? Is there a strategy developing, and
We
what
are
are we going to
developing a
do?
strategy.
Counselor, that's what the administration and the commissioner are working on at all times, and the commissioner is providing you the information you're asking for.
But it's not a strategy. This is like he's trying to take care of a problem we have right now.
No, we are coming up with a strategy. We're in works with our engineering company, the ones designing the intake, to come up with a secondary strategy.
And you're gonna-
We
and
believe we may,
And we're gonna hire EDR to check out things now too, right?
I'm gonna talk to EDR.
You know, nobody even needs to answer this. It's not a question, but my frustration is always the same when I sit back here or wherever we're sitting. I'm not sure we do a good enough job informing the public of what is happening. So as common counselors, we end up in such a reactive spot, and Greg, I guess this is directed mostly to you. We end up in such a reactive spot when people call because they don't have water to make pasta, or, you know, whatever the reason is that you don't have water. I think we're failing somewhere in how we inform the public of what's going on.
So,
That's just me, coming from me, and I'm sure my other counselors here will tell you, when we pick up the phone, I'm dumbfounded as to how to answer the questions, and we end up having to have a forum like this where we are being reactive to ask all these questions. We're all for it here. I speak for all 10 of us. If you said, let's have a committee meeting so we can explain to you what's going on, we will want to do that. Like, we don't want to have to ask for it.
Okay.
Tell us what's happening, so when I pick up the phone and Nader says I have no water in my spigot, I have the answer.
and I just want to say, so every time we have an issue, whether it's a major main break and we're closing roads down, or pressure loss, or whatever, comms has been direct contact with us. We've reached out to them immediately, you know, to get a press release out, and they've gone, you know, Sol has been working with us night and day. No matter what time I call, she answers the call.
Right, and it's not,
You
I'm
know.
not blaming you. I just don't think it's getting to the public in the way that people think that it's getting to the public. You know, today, look around, there's news cameras all over the place here. So this is going to get to the public in a way that's meaningful, but we have to do better.
Okay.
We
Do you
have to
guys
do better.
do you don't do the reporting thing like the fire department does? Like every fire, they send us something, and some of it has pictures. You guys don't, you're not working with roof knees?
That's what he was referring to comms. To be
Oh, okay,
clear,
okay.
virtually every water main break that occurs of any size, not all, because there are many that are quite small, of any size, there's an immediate notification that goes out as timely as possible. That's when he refers to Sol, that's what happens. That information is shared with news media and via our social media channels. Regarding general communications, yes, there is always the need to do more and to want to push out more and more information. And I think all of us know the challenges of getting people to stop and pay attention,
And
and
social
challenge
media.
accepted. We'll keep working
I
at
think
it.
the social media is going to be the biggest piece of it.
Sure is.
Because-
Saying to the media that there's a break on Park Street is much different than saying to them we're losing 5 million gallons of water a day. We have a bigger systemic problem here. I think they're more likely to pick up something like that versus I didn't know that until we asked that we're losing that much water. But and it's not a dig at your communications department. That's
Sure.
not what I meant to do.
Sure.
But
I mean, we've even sent out a media inquiry, you know, asking for the public's help. You know, if you see anything abnormal, if you see water coming up in your yard, please call this number, contact us, you know, because we're having issues, you know, we're having breaks all over the place.
So I have an additional question. This is, I don't know how related it is, but we have a lot of community gardens, some urban farms, that are about to go into their planting season. Is this going to be an issue for them who use hydrants? And should they be aware that limited usage should be in place at this point in time, and that they probably need to invest in rain barrels or something?
We haven't made a usage concern yet. Daily usage is happening right now, and our levels are still climbing. We're hoping that fixing a lot of these breaks that we've repaired and are maintaining is going to build the system. We're also, you know, we talk about everything, you know, so we're looking at, okay, the pool season, swimming pool filling, that all kind of comes when the SU students go home. You know, so now you're talking how many thousands of students aren't using the water anymore up on the universities during our summer months when we're at high usage. So we've calculated a lot of this in, and we don't think there's a worry, concern right now about water usage from, you know, residential.
Councilor Williams, did you get all your questions answered?
I'm fine, Madam President.
Because I noticed that you only got like one in, but, okay. Question for you. I noticed that some of the contractors that we have, specifically J.J. Lane. I've watched them open up the hydrants, and I've watched them use the water. So we're paying them to do a job. Are they paying us for the water use to do our job?
I'm not sure if JJ Lane has a hydrant permit or not. It may be in their contract. I'd have to go back and look at it.
I would like that.
The
I would like
usage
for
of
you
our
to look at
water.
all of the contractors that we hire, and if they're using our hydrants, then again, something needs to be knocked off the cost, or they need to pay for the water or something.
I mean, we get, every day, we just got to inquire about using, getting a hydrant permit to fill vac trucks all year, all season. And there's no meter on them, so they can use as much water as they like. We would never know.
Right.
Because they pay one fee. We're looking into that as well, trying to see if we can change that ordinance and get it metered. So that way we know how we could bill them as we would
Correct.
anyone else.
Absolutely. And this is minute, but I want to ask this question again. We have contractors in our city. They're doing work on our roads, on our sidewalks, different types of things, and they're breaking water pipes. So how does that factor? How do we handle that? Because I had a constituent, she was told, call J.J. Lane. Well, she didn't contract with J.J. Lane, so she shouldn't have had to make contact with that contractor for breaking her water pipe.
So I'm not sure if they mean a service line. So JJ Lane right now is doing the service replacements up in the Bradford, Guilford area.
It was a service line.
Service line. We have someone assigned to that project, but JJ Lane does the communications because we don't know, when they're going to the home. And if they reach out to us, we would contact
'Cause I
JJ
think
Lane.
it's really-
We would handle it.
To tell the homeowner that you have to call J.J. Lane, I think that's a stretch.
Yeah, I don't know who gave them that information because we would usually handle that. We would call them, we're in direct contact with management for JJ Lane, and we've had many issues where we call them direct and to resolve them.
You don't have, an employee, because I don't know if that was DPW or water, they said they were gonna go over to them and check on the sites, we have the sites.
We have a construction manager that goes out and checks on them. The Brookford project, our engineer has a residential, I can't think of the name of it, but they have an employee that's out there with them when they're doing the service connections and doing the lead replacements, and GHD does.
All right, so let me get a complete synopsis of what I've heard so far. So, how many reservoirs do we have in the city?
We have 2 reservoirs.
2 reservoirs, and they're working to their full potential?
They're working, they're not full.
Okay. How many pump stations do we have?
Pump stations we have 7? 8?
7, 8 or 9? 7 to 9 pump stations?
7 to 9 pump working stations, or just
But not all working.
They all are working, they're not up to their full potential.
Okay, but they're all
And
working.
that's why we're doing a lot of pump station replacements right now in Brookford, Guilford, Westminster. We just put our RFP out for Comstock pump station to be updated. We did Brighton pump station already. So we're working on all the pump stations.
Of the pump stations, I don't want to say this, be taken wrong. Which one of them are more important to the city as far as like pumping out and making sure that everything flows better? Because, like we said, one of them blew out because it was being overworked. So
I believe, I'm not going to put an importance to, they're all very important.
right, they all
Comstock's
They all are,
very
but-
important.
Right.
Comstock pump station's very, very important.
I think the question could be rephrased to which one has continued low pressure, possibly that, per se.
Potentially.
Comstock is the one that feeds Stewart Standpipe and Morningside.
Of course, we have got, the university, right? Got to take
That's-
care of
that
the
would be
university and
That's
everything.
Comstock pump.
Right.
That feeds that whole eastern high zone.
I wish the university, in my opinion, would reimburse the city sometimes on some things we have.
That's another issue,
That is.
We're talking about high rises being built. when you build the high rises higher than our elevations for our water, it gets difficult to deliver water when you're higher than the source, since we're gravity fed.
But the-
Syracuse University pays for water, you know.
They do.
You know, just so we know.
Right, they pay for water.
Yeah.
Right.
But they're one entity, the outside developers who are building a lot of the high-density apartments, they're not SU.
Right.
So that's an issue in its own.
We addressed it with some of them about, going forward, they need to put pump stations in there, because they weren't getting water to their fifth floors. And they're higher, when our levels drop a little bit, now they're higher than our water levels,
And, so reservoirs aren't full. Pump stations, we have them, they're all working, but they're not working to their full potential. We spent nearly $1.2 million on intake 2 for its repairs and everything like that. Hearing all of that, can we really afford to shut things down and move forward? And then you got to deal with turbidity and all those type of things. Like, can we do it like that? And that's to Councilor Hogan's point and the rest of us here. The plan to make sure everything is going to work sufficiently at the time. I understand Mother Nature. I understand how things can go, but you got leaks going on. You got this. You got that. You got this. You got that. Can we afford to continue to operate how we're operating right now?
we're going to continue to operate. We're still going to continue to deliver water to the city of Syracuse. We're going to do it to the best of our ability.
You guys down staff?
What's that?
Staff, are you guys down staff?
We are down staff.
How many?
Water workers, I want to say 10 water maintenance workers. We're looking to have a job fair pretty soon. It's, trying to draw them into the city, it's because it's kind of a skilled trade, working on water mains and stuff. And you have to have CDL license, some of them.
We also train them.
We'll train them. Since I became commissioner, I've changed the job specs to kind of make it a little more entry level. Before you used to have 2 years experience working on a high pressure water main, which where would you get that at unless you worked for the city of Syracuse or another municipality? So we dropped it down to just having construction experience, outdoor construction experience, and we'll train them to work on water mains.
Even the,
One more question about, boys, so you have only 10 positions open in the water department?
Will be.
That's 10 of the water maintenance workers.
What about, but there is other positions? 'Cause
Right.
The question after that is the evening shift. There's nobody that works like 11 to 7 for emergencies?
That's what I was asking, yeah.
So we used to have an emergency valve crew that worked 11 to 7. We had trouble finding employees for them positions. Union contracts, they can't work more than 16 hours straight. These guys were working 3-4 days at a time without any break. Now we have a standby crew. So we work
For the evenings.
for the evening. So we have a crew that's on standby. So if there's something happens, they're called in, they have to come in. They take the standby, they have to come in and
Do
work.
they actually
do.
come in?
They come in as soon as you call them. We have a repair crew and emergency valve operator crew that are on standby.
Have an emergency call crew that
Right.
goes on a Friday, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. We have a crew for anything that comes in after business hours.
Is that
to
on
address-
rotation from our same employees or a different crew?
Rotation amongst our employees in-house.
But they're funded out of the Water Reserve Fund, you know.
Out of the water
I mean,
fund.
yeah, so I mean, it's the positions being open, it's just basically, we can't find people with the
Can't
proper
find people.
skills.
and when I look at it's 2 engineering, positions out there, right? So when I look at the engineering position for the city, and it could be apples and oranges, but the 2 engineering positions for Micron, like the pay rate is so far apart that I don't see anyone applying to the city. Although Micron is maybe a little bit more, stuff to do, but I mean it's a lot. It's a lot.
We're looking, we have an opening, we had it on Indeed. I check that every day, and I've been reaching out. We did a couple interviews. A lot of people that are just, you know, not very experienced on the water side of things.
But then the people who are experienced, you're not going to get them because the pay is too low.
GHD and EDR told us the same thing. They're having trouble finding engineers. So it's, you know, it's across the board. We'll keep, you know, trying. You know, like I said, I've had the help from, you know, Aqua. They've reached out, you know, offered me a hand. You know, they've been very supportive. And no one has the knowledge like my team. My team has been here. You know, I got a few people that have been there over 30 years working on this water system. You know
How
what I
long
mean?
we've been working with GHD?
How long have what?
Have we been working with them?
With GHD? I don't know. I believe how long? GHD, how long we've been working with them? Years, I believe.
Many years.
Yeah, many
Can I ask you
years.
another question? What's your name?
My name is Chris.
You didn't give it all the answers.
Scribbling some
Yeah,
stuff here.
what's your, I'm sorry, what'd you say your name is?
Chris, he's one of my assistant superintendents.
Thank you. Okay. Okay. All right, thank you.
And you got to remember too, also, you know, we're not saying that it was is the problem or was the problem. We feed DeWitt, and DeWitt had a lot of water main breaks as well. You know, we don't know the count of breaks they had. We supply them with water. You know, we supply them up in the, you know, Radcliffe area, Genesee, and then come to my finding out, we supply them off the South Branch as well, where Aqua supplies them through the South Branch, which is actually our water. So when they have breaks, we lose water as well.
So how do we measure the water that we take and what actually really makes to the reservoir? How do we measure that?
We have like, what are they called? How do we, for the water, how much do we know? Right?
Meters?
Yeah, like readers at our Goddess Gate House.
And those get calibrated ever so,
Yeah, and
like
they
every
get-
day, or I mean, how does that work?
Yeah, and someone reads them every day. They go out there, they check them, they make sure, you know, what's coming in. That's where they adjust the
But they're
water.
serviced, and we know where they're calibrated to
Yep.
get the
We
right
have-
readings that you
We have a whole
need.
meter department for that.
Okay.
Outside of our city residents, who are our customers that utilize our water?
The DeWitt,
Have they been affected drastically by this? or-
Aqua. Only when we've shut them down, we shut them down a couple times, but they're still being fed from Aqua, and as soon as they call and say they have a little bit of a pressure issue, we turn them back on and supply them with water.
We do also feed or supply water to some of the residents off of our conduits
Conduit.
coming from Skinny Atlas Lake.
Skinny Atlas,
Skinny
Elbridge.
Atlas, Elbridge.
Right.
And on down, you know what I mean? On down through, even as close as Grant Boulevard, heading like from Marble Farms, if you
Grand
go
Ave.
down. Grand Ave, I'm sorry. I get the two of those mixed up. But yeah, we service those, you know, those villages and towns also. And just to circle back real quickly around what you were speaking of, Miss, of rate of pay, we're not competitive. And I know that's probably a conversation for another time, but to come in and do the skilled kind of work that you're doing when you have a multi-billion-dollar project going on who's willing to train and pay you while they train and then put you out on a job for $45 or $50 an hour, it's hard to find people, not only qualified people, but people that are interested in doing what we do. It's not a clean job. And it's a thing, you know what I mean? It's middle of the night, 10 below zero outside when everybody else is sleeping. But again, that's a discussion, and we don't set the rate of pay. That's not what we do. We work hard every day to maintain and bring water to this city, just like our predecessors have for 130 years. That
We'll
is our
continue to
goal.
do that.
That is our goal every single day. And we all feel it. I mean, we're all neighbors. We're all in the same community. We live here also. There's times when you know what I mean? I'm in the shower and one of my kids flushed the toilet, and guess what? You better have a towel down on the floor because you need to get up out of there. So you know, we all kind of feel that. But I you know,
That's the funny.
I, for myself, working in the department for 16 years, I've never seen anything like this. Not the spike in the loss of water in our reservoirs, I've never experienced anything like this, and I spent 8 years on a water crew.
So Beef, let me ask you this question.
Yes, ma'am.
Right before you get to Marble Farms, is that city of Syracuse or is that?
That is the town of Geddes, but we
Wait,
service.
that's the town of Geddes?
Yes, our line ends at where Avery Ave turns into Velasco Road on Grand, that's Grand Ave, correct? Am I getting that right? So we have one single fire hydrant right on that corner, and that is the end of, that is the city limit. We supply those other people on that side, like behind the Department of Motor Vehicles and that stretch of
Right.
houses, because our main conduits that come from, right, that bring water to Woodland Reservoir run through
And I
our
was asking
right-of-way,
that
which is their
question
property
because
also.
for 3 days, I watched, it had to be a water main break.
It was, Town of
It
Geddes.
was?
Town of Geddes. It was
Okay.
Aquas.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we received
was
many.
too much water
We
coming
received
through.
a lot of calls on that, and we checked and rechecked. We even kind of thought maybe that it was our 42-inch main coming out of Westcott Reservoir, which it travels Salisbury Road to Avery Ave, through Burnett Park, down to, you know what I mean, and continues down through that way. But yeah, we took many calls on that, but not ours.
So with our customers, like Town of DeWitt, is there like a cap of what they get, or is it just meter based?
Meter based.
A meter based, and what's
They don't take very much from us.
what's the average?
But right now, we have them on a schedule.
Right.
10 o'clock in the morning till 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We turn
We try to build
up
our
on Julian
reservoirs at
Place.
night.
To allow them their side of town. We turn our water main on at 10 a.m. on Julian Place, and then we shut it back off at 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
So with that, what's the negative effect if you don't turn it off during that time? How low would the reservoirs go? Not drastically, or
No.
just?
We have them on at Radcliffe all the time. So they're taking water from us.
Perfect.
But me personally, I'm not a big fan of giving away water when we're struggling to keep water for ourselves.
Right.
I understand we have an agreement with the town of DeWitt or Aqua, you know what I mean? And I get that, and, you know, that's not my field. My field is to bring people clean drinking water and having enough pressure to be able to go in the bathroom and wash yourself and maybe do a load of laundry at the same time. We all get that. We're not able to, none of us, if you live in the city, none of us are able to do that at this time.
And DeWitt has been working with us as well. They've been a great, you know.
But
everyone's
I
great.
want to reassure the city of Syracuse and this council that we are every day and a lot of time at night, you know, we are out there trying to figure out exactly why this happened. And for me, to have 11 water main breaks or 12 water main breaks in 5 days prior to when we saw this loss of volume and water. And now now it's a 121 million gallon reservoir. Now we're trying to make that up at 3.5 million gallons a day.
Yeah.
One turbidity event that we have to turn that intake off. We've lost everything that we've gained in 2 days.
You had
or
one
3
last.
days.
You had one last week on Maple Arts Ave. I was talking to you guys.
Yeah.
But we're going to get through this. We have a great team. We have support from our senior staff. We have support from our outside entities. We're going to get through this.
Okay, I'm going to bring up something. I know it's a touchy subject, but I have to ask because the constituents are calling and asking. So, and I know you guys are going to have a great answer. So I'm asking. When the water main breaks are breaking, right, and we know we have a lot of people have concerns about our water, right, and you've been reassured to us that our water is good. What do we do to make sure that nothing is getting contaminated while the water mains are
Oh, it's
breaking?
important.
So the water is chlorinated.
Right.
And when we have to change large sections of pipe, we would chlorinate the pipe ourselves. Most of them are smaller repairs, and the water kind of always keeps going. It's hard to get a complete shutdown, so there's always moving water. So they're in complete safety. And we, as soon as we repair them, we turn a hydrant on and we flush the whole system, get everything out of there.
I have one last question. When we have leaks in places like woods and fields that we can't bring our equipment into, How do you check that?
So, like I said, the conduit coming from Skinny Atlas to Syracuse, we're looking to work with, I have a meeting Thursday with, I think it's NU Air, I believe that's the name of it. They're gonna work with us and try to drone, do like,
Drones. We used to have something called ATV or something like that, right?
yeah, so.
I remember that.
We're gonna try to see where the leaks are on the conduit.
So we don't have that anymore?
We don't have that anymore.
Okay.
A lot of, so you gotta remember, over the years, the farmers used to let us know, you know?
Right.
A lot of
That-
farming
I
has.
heard that
There's
too,
not
yeah.
a lot of farming has stopped in them areas now. And, we don't get the updates like we used to. And a lot of them are inaccessible now. But if there was a water main break, we would have to
We will
work our
access
way
it.
there. We would have
We
to
will-
access it.
One way or another, we will
We're gonna get
access
there.
our right-of-way. We have a 75-foot right-of-way from here, 19 miles of pipe. We have 3 conduits. 1 and 2 run together, and the third one breaks off out just before you get into Skinny Atlas on 321. But the city of Syracuse does have a 75-foot right-of-way for all of those conduits. So if we get a call or we have a water main break out there, one way or another, we have right-of-way to get to wherever
And we have the
need
resources to get to it.
to repair our conduits.
And one last question, if you can indulge me. What kind of record keeping do you count on? I mean, everybody's digitalizing and
We have City Works. So all our jobs that we do go through City Works. We do work orders, and that's what we're utilizing.
I have my own.
Beef has the old pen and paper.
Since I became an assistant superintendent with the city, with the department, I have kept a book, and in this book, every day, you can look through it if you'd like, is the jobs that we had put out for the day or the water main break, and
so what if somebody needed to know that information of the next shift? So that they
next
can
year?
pick it up where you left it off?
Dispatch would give them a work order. We have work orders through our
Okay.
City Work system. So
and I'll
there's a-
make sure when I go out, I'll leave my 3 books or however many I've accumulated until I retire.
What we utilize City Works. That's
Okay.
how
That's-
people
yeah.
know.
I would just like to thank everyone for being here. I would just ask that if we can somehow generate a quarterly report of something that you can give to the council, whether it be by the end of the month or when we have something like a water main break, how much water was lost and things like that. So we'll be able to be on top of these things so that way when you come to us on the council with things water related on the agenda, we know that it's worthwhile doing it and then we know that you guys are staying on top of everything. Once,
Can't post it about the 10 million bond if you're not gonna do it.
I'm all about money. So can you, over these past, you just came, but I'm sure there's records. Can you give us a breakdown of how much we actually spent on repairs of all of the different reservoirs?
We could come up with a breakdown, correct? Yeah.
in other words,
Since
if
we're
there's,
in-
if there's no further questions or
Like forever.
comments, I hereby deem this meeting to be done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Deem it to be done.
You just go, Joe.